ahead and turn it off or silence it, please. If you're watching from home, please resist the temptation to check your phone or your email or your other pages on your computer. Let's go ahead and begin with 3 ohms. Let's begin by turning over this entire session to the high C. High C is short for higher consciousness, which can be the God self within all of us. Call it Sai Baba, and call it Rama, Krishna, Jesus, Buddha, Allah. It doesn't matter. It's the same high C for all of us. Imagine that you're seated in a golden circle. The golden circle is on the ground, and the width is as if you took both of your hands and arms spread out with your fingers extended, and the golden circle is on the ground. The thickness of the golden circle doesn't matter. All of this is happening on your inner seam. And even if there are other people seated within that space physically, again, it doesn't matter because all of this is inner work that is helping us to become better people every day. In the middle of the room, wherever you're seated, there's a beautiful maypole. It's a large pole with a golden globe on top. At the top of that golden globe, or rather that golden globe itself, represents the high C, the higher consciousness. Hanging from this globe or ball are many different colored ribbons. In your inner seam, sit up from your golden circle, walk towards the maypole, and take a ribbon in your hand. Notice the color, the texture, the thickness of the ribbon, and come back and sit down in your own golden circle. If you're seated on the floor, you can sit with your legs crossed, your arms on your lap with palms facing upward if you like little bowls to just symbolize to yourself that you're going to receive from the high C. If you're seated in a chair, then sit with both of your feet uncrossed on the floor. That allows the energy to flow more smoothly. The ribbon is in your hand, and it represents your connection to the high C. This is a very simple and easy way to connect to the higher self within all of us. And now let's begin by taking energy from the high C, or rather receiving energy from the high C. Let's ask the high C to send us relaxing energy. Think, feel, visualize, or imagine this relaxing energy is coming from the high C through the ribbon directly to you. As you breathe in this divine relaxing energy. It knows exactly what it needs to do. You don't have to guide it anywhere. You don't have to bring it in any particular direction. Just allow it to flow like a river, like a huge flow of divine light. And as you exhale, as you breathe out, let go of all your stress, your tension, your strain, your worries and problems. Breathe in again, breathe in this divine relaxing energy. And as you breathe out, just let it all, just as Phyllis would say, let go, let go, let go. The moment we become stressed, the divine flow stops. It becomes difficult for us to connect to the high C. So this relaxing energy is actually probably the most important because it's what allows us to remain connected to the high C at all times. Just relax. Just let go. Let go of your worries. Let go of your fears. Let go of whatever it is that is causing stress or tension in your life. Give it over to the Lord. Let it disappear in that divine flow. Take a few more breaths. Letting go of whatever you no longer need. Even if you don't know what it is, just let go and give it to the high C. Ask the high C to take from you whatever is no longer required. Now, let us ask the high C to send us healing energy. Healing energy. This could be for physical healing, could be for mental healing, emotional, or even spiritual healing. Phyllis would often say that all of us have something about us that is not quite right. That is part of being embodied in the uh, physical vehicle, our bodies. And so this divine healing energy can help us to heal whatever it is that is bothering us. So as you breathe in, allow this divine healing energy to flow into you. And as you exhale, let go of whatever it is that requires healing, whether it's physical blocks, emotional blocks, mental blocks, whatever. The divine healing energy is divinely intelligent. It knows exactly what you need. And even though the energy is just flowing through a simple ribbon, allow that divine energy to flow as if it's coming through a huge water hose. It's completely wide open, like a fire hose, at full strength, coming to you, flooding into every part of your being. Now let us ask the high C to send us purifying and cleansing energy. Purifying and cleansing energy. Phyllis would often tell us that as we go about in the world, as we meet different types of people, as we interact in different places who may think differently or feel differently from us, we can absorb different types of energies that may not be us. And so, this purifying and cleansing energy can cleanse us from whatever we no longer require. More importantly, it's things that we ourselves have generated: our thoughts, our words, our deeds, our stress, anger, resentment, whatever it is. Ask this purifying and cleansing energy to just wash it away. Phyllis would say you can imagine as if you're standing under a shower or under a waterfall, as if water is cleansing you. But let it be divine, divine. Think, feel, visualize, or imagine this energy cleansing you inside and out. And now let us ask the high C to send us strengthening energy. Strengthening energy. The divine strength is really all the strength that we need. And if we rely on the divine strength, then we won't feel tired. In fact, we would see Phyllis many times, even at the age of her late 90s, even 102 when she had come to Bangalore last. We saw her working 14, 15 hours a day without any fatigue. We would feel tired, but Phyllis would still be as fresh as a flower. And she said it was because she relied completely on the divine strength. So let this energy come to you like a huge flow. Allow yourself to completely disappear into this flow of energy. That's the secret to the maypole, is you completely become nothing. Just melt away in that divine flow of energy. Let there no longer be a you. Let it just be that divine strengthening energy flowing through you, completely dissolving you. So that it's just divine strength. Now let us ask the high C to send us its unconditional love. This is the most precious of all gifts. In fact, Phyllis says it is what we have been searching for millions and millions of births. We look for that thing through different lifetimes in family, fame, wealth, fortune, sex, whatever it is outside of us. We keep looking for that outside, outside, outside. But this divine love is what we've been searching for all along. This divine love is our birthright. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to deserve it. Breathe it in, and allow yourself to completely be immersed in this divine love. And once you're immersed in this divine flow, allow yourself to just become nothing, just divine love. And now let us share this love with others. Phyllis says that this love is like water. If it's not shared, if it doesn't move, it becomes stagnant. So let us share this love with those who might benefit from it. We can do this by simply putting our hands together in the Namaste position, fingers extending outwards. We're still connected to the maypole through the ribbon. And let us ask the high sea to send its love through us. We don't have to send our love. We can send the love of the high sea, which is limitless and all powerful. So let us first, in our inner scene, bring to mind those of us in our family, our friends, those whom we love and like, and just very quickly allow that divine love to flow to each of them in turn. Also, include people whom you don't like or who don't like you. Phyllis said this simple act of sending this love can often heal many difficult relationships and bring about harmony again. Now let us rest our hands back in our laps again, palms facing upward like little bowls, and let us fill ourselves back up with the unconditional love of the high sea. Breathe in deeply and really fill yourself with that love. Become a huge reservoir of this limitless, unconditional. And when you're ready, and place your hands again back in the Namaste position. And this time, let us send its unconditional love of the high sea to groups of people who may need that love. It could be the recent incident that happened in New Zealand. It could be refugee camps. It could be terrorist training camps. It could be jails, prisons, shelters for the homeless and others. It could be hospitals, nursing homes, or mental asylums, places where people are suffering and need the unconditional love of the high sea. Let's rest our hands again back in our palms, back in our laps, palms facing upward like little bowls. Again, stay connected to the high sea. It's not just for this one simple exercise, it's 24 by 7 connection to the high sea. Allow its love to flow through you, to you, and through you to everything else around you. And when you're ready, you can place your palms back together again in the Namaste position. This time, let us send the love of the high sea to places in the world which need this unconditional love energy. It could be places that are troubled by strife or war, such as Syria or Israel. It could be places troubled by natural disasters, such as what happened in southern Africa recently or in the floods in the Midwestern US. It could be places wherever there's trouble or difficulty, turmoil. But as you send this love, Phyllis would ask us to send love also to the leaders of these places because they have the power to bring about positive change for the better. Now, let us give that love to ourselves, because unless we have unconditional love, love within ourselves, how will we share it with others? So, place your arms around yourself like you're really going to give a big hug and just tell yourself, I love. Just say it inside, but I want you to really mean it. I love me. Now, let's say it out loud again together. I love me. And now let's say it louder still, but I want you to mean it. Don't parrot it, but really mean it. I love me. Very good, but you can do better than this. Let's say it out loud, really loud. I love me. But I'm seeing some of you frowning when you say this. I want to see a big smile on your face when you say this. Be romantically involved with yourself. Really love yourself. Say it again. I love me. Very good. Now you can come out of the meditation, gently move your hands and feet, rub your palms together, and slowly come back to the present moment. It's here in Indian Standard Time. It's around 5:50 here in Kadugodi, Kannamangala, Bangalore. So, welcome back, everyone, to the monthly Cutting Ties That Bind meeting, also known as the Phyllis Krystal Method. So, today's session, we're going to have fun. We're going to do problem solving with cutting ties. Now, cutting ties is the short form for the Phyllis Krystal Method, but please, I just want to make a few clarifications. It is not cutting the knots, okay? It is not releasing the binds. It is not Philip Krystal, it is Phyllis Krystal. Okay, so there's some misunderstandings. I just want to clarify them. How it started was Phyllis way back in the 1950s when she was in the UK, started to develop a series of inner techniques that would help her adjust to her life better. She and her friend who lived across the street from her started this technique way back. Now, 1950s in the UK, there's hardly anything in terms of self-development in this way available. And what she understood was that most of our actions, our awareness, our thoughts, are guided by the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind. We have our conscious mind, which is what we are aware of. So as I'm speaking to you, that's the conscious mind translating it and understanding it. But your subconscious mind takes what I'm telling you and places it in the context of what you have already experienced before. All your memories in this lifetime and to some degree your previous lifetimes are contained in your subconscious mind. Now, we also have the higher mind or the superconscious mind. That's the one mind, the one divine mind from which the sages and saints can operate from. But most of us operate and are controlled completely by the subconscious mind. We use our conscious mind a little bit at work, maybe when we're booking airline tickets, but that's it. The rest of us, we operate through the subconscious mind 99% of the time. Now, that can be good, but that can also be bad. And so we have experienced, all of us, various traumas, various difficulties that still continue to control us. And the cutting the ties that bind technique helps to free us from those unhealthy aspects of ourselves that are still contained. It's like taking a broom and sweeping up the dust and dirt that is no longer required in our basement. In the Indian context, this would be like freeing ourselves from karmas, freeing ourselves from the vasanas, the tendencies that continue to affect us, freeing ourselves from the what's called vrittis, VRITTI, the instability of the mind that comes. So it's the same thing that has been taught in various Vedanta philosophy and other philosophies, the same thing, but put in a format that is available to everyone. So we're releasing ourselves. The first step is to free ourselves from the negative influences of our parents, and that is called the primary cuts. Why our parents? Because for better or worse, they have a very important influence on us, and we tend to copy or rebel against whatever we have learned. So, for example, in my family, my father was a physician, and he was okay with handling money. I copied him in terms of how I handle money. I'm okay with it, but I'm actually not so smart about it. I copied that behavior. Um, when I was young, I used to look at my father's handwriting. He was a doctor, and I think, how can you read what you've written? And then later, I became a doctor, and I started to write the same way as he did. So copying him. And this happens if you look at your own life, you can see how you have copied or rebelled against what you were taught. Sometimes this is good, but many times it tends to control us and limit us. And so we need to do the primary cuts, cutting the ties from our parents first, one individually. Doesn't matter if it's your mother first or your father first, but this is the first step in the cutting ties path to freedom. We are not pushing away our parents. We're not cutting them out of our lives. We're just cutting away the unhealthy aspects. So let me ask in this room here, about 20 people, how many have finished your primary cuts, both parents? Okay, good, a large majority. Abhishek, it seems like every time you're still up. Say that. So some people, so Abhishek is saying he started and stopped. Some people will start and stop. So then you need to look more closely. Is there something controlling you from your parents' side about your lives that you're not able to break through? These are things that when you're having resistance to doing a cut, what is it that's still keeping you from doing that cut? It's not the usual excuses of laziness or lack of time. That's the secondary excuse. What is actually going on in your relationship to one or both parents that is causing you to stop, that is causing you to not be free? So that's the question that we have to look at. Now, once we finish the primary cuts, then we're free to move on to different types of cuts. And those can be either cuts to other people who are still controlling or influencing us or bothering us in some way, or it can be what we call cymbal cuts, which are non-human cuts. So that would be, for example, a previous trauma that you experienced. It could be a previous place that you lived, a previous job that you held, a previous relationship that you had in the past. It could be an unhealthy habit. It could be an illness that you may be facing. It could be a belief or tendency that you would like to free yourself from. It could be an addiction. So the variety of cymbal cuts are huge, and they really do work. Sometimes there may be layers. So, for example, if someone were physically abused, we would ask them to first finish their primary cut, then cut from the person who physically abused them, then cut from the trauma of that physical abuse. But sometimes there may be one or two traumas that are very intense, and they may need to cut from the overall trauma as well as the trauma of that one particular situation. So does that make sense in terms of the cuts, how they work? So you have your primary cuts, you have person cuts, which generally take a minimum of 2 weeks to complete. We do the figure 8 for 2 minutes in the morning, just after waking, 2 minutes in the evening, just before going to bed. Then we have the cymbal cuts, which generally take a minimum of 3 weeks, sometimes longer, depending on the intensity of the situation. Okay, so that's the cymbal cuts. Now, beyond that, there's a whole lot of symbols. Now, rather than just go through each symbol one by one, which is boring, we're going to ask you to tell us a problem or an issue that you're facing, and then let us see together how the cutting ties work can help you. And what Phyllis would say is, if you have this issue or problem, it's very likely that others also have it. And so the more that you share, the more that you will help others. So can we start? Does anyone want to share a problem or issue or something that's bothering them that would like to get help? Back?
Am I audible? Namaste. For me, I'm scared almost all the time. Uh, it was not that like that couple of years back, but over the period of past 1 year, I seem to be scared of pretty much everything. The food that I eat, places that I go. So today, traveling here itself, there was a lot of resistance in me to come. But I have good friends who made sure that I come here.
Good.
So it's this fear that I want to get away with. I don't know if that problem is sufficient or should I give more
So
details?
let's start with that. So what should we use for this? Star for fear. So we can do the star for fear. Um, I think the star for fear is an excellent exercise. It's something that actually most of us should do every day, because we all have different fears, anxieties, stress, whatever. It happens to everybody. And The world today is a pretty stressful place. No, I mean, there's so much happening. Every time you open the newspaper or read the news, it seems like some other terrible event has happened again. So I would do this particular exercise at least once a day. Now, the way that we do it, Phyllis says, is that we imagine that there is a star. In the old book, some of you may have the older book, she imagined a pair of, what was it called? Jacks? Yeah, jacks. Jacks, like, the children used to use in the old days. The problem is that nobody plays jacks anymore. So she asked the high C, and the high C changed the symbol to a star. Now, how do these symbols work? Is it really so simple? So they work on the subconscious mind, and these images or symbols is actually the language of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind doesn't work on English or Hindi or Tamil. It doesn't speak like that. It works on symbols. It works on pictures. And so we use these symbols or images to communicate with the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind starts to respond. And that's how these things are cleared. Now, we'll give you a more esoteric example. This is what Sai Baba had told to Phyllis herself. He said that he created these symbols. They exist on a higher plane. And when we use these symbols, we connect in our mind to the symbols that he has created. They overlay each other. And that allows his divine energy to flow into. This is his explanation. But the practical explanation is this: they work on your subconscious mind so that you can transmit or transmute, rather, whatever it is that's bothering you. Now, how does this work? The way that Phyllis describes it is you imagine that there's a star just above you, in front of you, and you imagine it's on a pulley, some type of rope or leverage. And in your inner scene, you pull it down, keep it in front of your solar plexus or heart or wherever you're feeling this fear. And then you breathe in, you breathe out your fear into the center of the star. There's a black space here, and that represents what you're breathing your fear into. And then as you breathe in, as you inhale, you are breathing in the divine light from the periphery of the star. So you're breathing out your fear and you're breathing in the light of the star. So shall we do this together? Okay, it'll just take 2 minutes. Let's close our eyes. Connect back quickly to the high C by taking the ribbon again in your hand. Keep your golden circle around you. Do this every day so that no one invades your personal space. Imagine there's a beautiful star just above your head and in front of you. Bring it down. Imagine it's on a pulley or rope, and you allow it to come down. It could be in front of your heart, it could be in front of your solar plexus, that is the space just below the rib cage in the center, wherever you're feeling stress or strain in your body. And as you exhale, allow whatever fear you have to go into this star. Just let it go. And as you breathe in the divine light of the star, which is just the energy of the high C. As you exhale, let go of this fear, let go of any stress, any anxiety that you may be feeling. As you inhale, again, bring in this divine energy. You have to breathe out the fear first so that there is space for the divine energy to fill. That's all. That's just as much time as it takes. Phyllis says you can do this for up to, I think, is it 5 minutes? 5, is that right? Not more than that. 2 minutes, that's, yeah, 2 minutes. Up to 2 minutes. You don't need to do it for very long, and immediately you'll feel much calmer. I do this because it helps me to just deal with stress of work and life and so forth. So it's a very effective technique in that way. Now, so let me start. How do you feel now? Do you feel better? A little bit better. But then I think we need to go deeper into this. So if you're feeling generalized anxiety, what's the root cause? So then the next question that Phyllis would ask is, tell me about your parents, right? This is what the next question will be. What was your relationship with your parents like? What happened? So you can answer that question. Sorry, we're just having a mic problem. It's done. Why don't you tell us and I'll just repeat so that for the sake of time while we get the batteries, just tell us out loud and I'll repeat for the online audience. Your father was not engaged, he was very strict. Okay. So your mother was strong, but financially you were not secure. So she was supporting the family. And so you were not able to develop a strong relationship because she was busy making ends meet for you. So you always got approval from your mother. Okay, all right.
It becomes very difficult for me, and that increases my anxiety just beyond limits. And then I had a difficult marriage, so the problems from there also just added on to it.
I know there's a lot of problems with stupid husbands these days. And that's why there's always more women in cutting ties meetings compared to men. Okay. All right. So where should we start? Who wants to suggest something? What do you think? First things first would be what? Cut ties from your parents, right? Because it's obvious that your that need for parental approval is still controlling you, right? Your mother's approval is still controlling you. And so when you're trying to make a decision, are you getting stressed or nervous when you have to make a
Yes,
huh? So
lot.
but if your mother said, "Huh," is your mother still living?
Yes, she's
Okay.
with me. Rather, I'm with her.
Uh-huh.
And yes, even today, I mean, she has an opinion in everything that I do. So it was to a point, like even in my career, when I was working for a MNC, that time also, if I faced any problems, I would translate that problem into something very simple that she can relate to, and then she'll give me some solutions. And for me, if she said something, then I won't think beyond that. That was
Huh.
how I was brought up.
So here's what Phyllis would say. She would often tell us that when you help someone in a certain way, uh, in this type of situation, I'm not talking about helping someone who is, let's say, in a refugee camp or hungry, starving for food or needs medical care. Not that type of help. I'm just talking about helping a family member or trying to, help them see the better things. So Phyllis would often say that when you do help in certain ways, you're actually doing them a disservice. Why? Because they then lose the opportunity to learn for themselves. And I think this is what has happened in your case. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Now, this is a story that Swami had said once. He said that when a parent, in certain societies, the age varies. He said it could be 16 years in some societies, it could be 18 or 20 in others. But when a parent tries to make a decision for their adult child, they take on 50% of the karma of that particular decision. So your mother is actually earning karma, your karma, by trying to control you. But basically, that's what she's doing, right? She's trying to give you advice in the well meaning to help you, but it's not helping you because you haven't learned to make these decisions on your own. And when we as parents control our children after they become adults, and it even goes to the extent of lending money, buying them property, buying them a house, we take on that karma. Buying them a car, we take on karma for that. That is, we earn 50%. So you're doing your mother a disservice and she's doing you a service. So the first step is to what? Cut ties from your mother, right? Is your father still living?
Yes.
Cut ties from your father. After that, the good news, it only takes 2 weeks for each, and then you're done, right? And then were there other traumas that you experienced earlier in childhood? What else happened?
Nothing in my childhood as such. It was, I was very focused that I have to earn money, and then there was no digression that happened.
Even in childhood?
Huh?
Even in childhood, earning
Yes,
money?
I was very, I wanted to earn because saw that money was creating a lot of problem.
Huh.
The
What
absence of it.
what was your family attitude towards money?
It's more of savings and just securing future.
Was there a feeling that there was not enough money at home?
My mother did feel that. I felt my childhood was very blissful. I enjoyed every moment of it.
And today, do you have that feeling that there's or concern that there may not be enough money?
I don't have that concern. I'm happy
Okay.
with what I have.
Okay. Good. So
So
you're
financially,
financially
I'm
so
perfectly
you've
all
not
right.
copied that belief from your mother then.
No.
Okay. Good. We may not copy everything from our parents, but we sure do copy a whole lot,
Oh
right?
yes, we do.
Yes.
So it's like she takes lot. She goes into finer details before making a decision. Sometimes you have to just let go and just go with the flow. I think that is something I find very difficult to do. My logical mind kicks in, and then it needs every detail possible to do something, and that adds a lot of stress. The situation
Okay.
itself.
So first thing would be to cut ties from your parents. Start with your mother,
Yes.
then continue with your father. Then look at these habits of decision making. Have you copied something from your parents that is still controlling you? And then do a symbol cut from that. And then do the star for fear every day so that you can free yourself from this anxiety. This takes 2 minutes a day. And whenever you feel anxiety, you can do it. You can do it before you go into a meeting, before you have to travel, maybe before you have to give a presentation or speech, before you take an exam. You can teach this to your children. I mean, now in India, we're going through exam periods. Teach them this so that they can take their exams with more confidence. Before a sporting or athletic events where you might have to compete, for example. So it's a
Okay.
wonderful tool. Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Do we have a question from online? Okay, can you pass the mic back over? Then also, if others would like to ask a question, we'll go through that.
It's from previous homework
Mm-hmm.
about not fighting with Swami. I found the reason or feeling for fighting was that I was asking for guidance and help and I wasn't getting it. This is causes me frustration.
Hmm. Yeah, the homework from last week, or last time, sorry, was to stop fighting with God. Okay. Ah, everybody fights with God, no? Poor guy. I mean, he's like everybody complaining, everybody moaning, everybody whining. No, I mean, this is what happens. I mean, and everybody does, and he's like, man, 7 billion people are all complaining all the time. So the homework was to stop fighting with God. So let's look at this in the context of cutting ties. If you want to connect with the high C, what's the first and most important step? Relax. Relax. If you're not relaxed, you will not be able to connect with the high C. Why is it so easy to connect with the high C when we're in nature? Why is it so easy to connect with the high C when we're on a vacation? Right? Because we're relaxed, you know. You go to work and try to connect to a high C in the middle of a tense meeting, it's not going to happen, you know. You have to be completely relaxed. And the more relaxed you are, the better the connection. So that is the first step. So this then connects with what you were saying is where is this anxiety and stress coming from and how can you manage that better? Yeah. So the star for fear is the first one. Do your primary cuts and then free yourself from these controlling elements. The beautiful thing about cutting ties is that it frees yourself of these external controls or internal controls that you have placed and allows your life to be guided by the high C. That's the entire gist of cutting ties. The high C guides your life, and you free yourself from whatever controlling you. Let's take a question from here. Abhishek?
Sairam, I find myself getting pretty irritated when people expect something of me, or when I expect something of people and that is not fulfilled. So every small detail of whether what I expect or what they expect, this expectation is causing a lot of irritation.
Okay.
Don't know how to deal with that.
Okay. Does anyone else have this issue? Yeah. Okay. A lot
For
of hands
example,
going up.
I expect
So,
something.
yeah, all married people. So what was that? So the comment was, yeah. Can you just share that comment again, because it's a very good.
Uh, for example, at work, when you do something, you're more concerned of what the what your manager is going to tell you once you complete the job. That fear of being rejected, saying no, this is not right, or this is not, that feeling of rejection, fear of rejection,
Okay.
basically.
Okay. So then let's go back into this then. So again, what happened when you were young? Were you criticized as a child for your behaviors? It could have been your parents, it could have been other older people in your family, it could have been your teachers. Were there key figures in your early life that would criticize you when you made a mistake or blame you when you did something wrong? Again?
Most of my early memory regarding that question is my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She tried to shape me into an exact replica of herself.
Mm.
So I would get chastised for everything, and beyond the point, I started rebelling. That,
Ah, okay.
and I never wanted to fulfill what were her expectations of
Okay.
me,
Okay.
and now it got spilt out on others.
Right, right. So this is a common issue, but the cause may be different from one person to another. So the first step for you would be to what?
Cut the ties with my mother.
Yes. So again, this you see this issue of control again and again in the cutting ties that bind work. What happens is the more ego we have, the more we try to control others. You may have a manager who is controlling you because he or she wants everything to be done his or her way. You may have a parent who wants to control you because they want you to become a replica of themselves, right? So it's this control which is one aspect of the ego, and you have to learn to cut yourself from that. Now, there's a difference though, is when you're doing something that is adharma or something that is wrong or that could hurt yourself, right? That is a different story, right? Where we may try to correct someone to prevent them from harming themselves. Don't go and drink, don't do drugs, don't drive at 200 kilometers an hour. I mean, those are common sense things. You tell your children, don't put your hand on a hot stove. That's different. Here, what we're talking about is where we're trying to shape a person's individuality, their particular work style, what they say and do, how they speak, dress, etc. That is control. Okay? So you need to cut ties from your parents, starting with your mother and then your father. Once you see what happens after that, are you still getting irritated? Is there a habit in you of expectations from others? Was there a point in your life where you were rejected by someone, where someone turned you away, someone you wanted something from somebody but they didn't give you what you expected? Did anything like that ever happen to you?
Not able to recollect anything suddenly,
Mm-hmm.
but may have been there. I'm really not sure.
Huh. So you need to dig a little bit deeper and see what happened, because if that pattern continues after you do the cut from your mother and you're still finding that you're getting irritated even though you've done that initial cut, then you need to look deeper. Where else? What other traumas were there? What other patterns? Was there a school teacher who was also very controlling? Did you set very high standards for yourself that were almost impossible to meet, so that you would always face rejection or face dejection when you didn't meet those standards? Those are things that you need to look at and dig in more deeper. Yeah. So start with your parents and then go beyond that. Okay. We have a question here.
So
Afterwards,
this
we'll
is
take
about
one
the
more
star
question.
for fear. So everybody will have different kinds of fears, like fear of something bad happening to the family, or fear of uncertainty of life, fear of disease. I mean, almost everybody. So when we're doing the star for fear, do we have to focus on one kind of fear we have, or any fear that is there in the
What I
body?
do with the star, I just use it as a generic fear.
Fear.
Yeah, because I don't know what fear there is. I mean, I really don't want to know. That's the other nice thing. That's the other nice thing about cutting ties. See, actually, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't have to figure it out. The high C knows. So let's say in your example, you diligently cut ties with your mother. You diligently cut ties with your father. You're feeling so good. And then you go talk to somebody and you ask them to do this and this, and they do something completely different, and you blow your top afterwards. And you say, man, what happened to me? You know, Swami said that every time we get angry, we lose 3 months of our sadhana. I just lost like 6, 7 months. This is what, so if that happens, then what would you do in that case? Anyone know? You've done your primary cuts, the pattern is continuing. What do? You've dug deeper. You've even asked the high C to show you what you need to cut from. You've done those cuts, still the pattern is continuing. What do? You just do a root cause. You ask the high C to show you a symbol for the root cause of whatever it is you're experiencing and cut from that. You don't need to know what the root cause is. The high C knows, and it's probably better you don't know. It doesn't matter if you know or not, but the high C knows, and the high C will take care of it. The high C will give us everything that we need. High C is God, not high SEA, high C for consciousness, okay? The higher consciousness, the God part of ours. That makes sense. So even for you, or with the sense of rejection, this is what you can do. Go back and look, dig. Where did it come from? Where did this sense of rejection come from? Right? So, for example, if you feel a sense of rejection, what happened when your mother was carrying you? Was there some difficulty in the family? There's some strain. Can you just pass the mic over there? Can we just dig a little bit deeper into this? Was there something that happened when you were a baby in the womb?
Yeah, actually, throughout that 9 months, I think my uncle passed away, and my mother was, dejected, crying that
Right.
throughout.
Huh.
But I
See,
did cut ties with this, and Swami showed me a message. He actually blessed me up
Good,
in the dreams,
good.
all that. But this thing, I mean, I don't know if it's related, but it's still there.
100% that effect will be there in your life. So you could even go back even before you were physically born, during the time that your mother was pregnant with you. Was there some trauma that happened to your mother? The same thing is true for parents. If you find a child is having difficulty for whatever reason, was there some trauma that you faced, the mother faced, during the pregnancy? Does this make sense? Does anyone want to share? Can we just ask the mothers in the room? Any difficulty with a particular child, and can we go back and look? Your children are all perfect. They went to Balvikas and yeah? We have one back here.
I don't know if it is the right example. It's about my own daughter. So
Mhm.
when I was pregnant, I mean that those 9 months were very difficult for her initially medically, and then as I said, I had a difficult marriage. So there was my relation with my husband was very strenuous during that period, and I don't know if that has impacted her. Just by listening to what you said, I think she would be impacted by
100%.
it. So I just want to know
100%.
what is it that I can do as a mother to make sure that she's taken care of.
Right. So then how do we do this? So you need to cut ties from the trauma of whatever you experienced during pregnancy, right?
Okay.
That's the first step. Then can you cut ties for your daughter? No. You can't cut ties for anyone else. And that again is the beauty of the cutting ties work, is that you are only working on yourself. You are not trying to change others. Phyllis says, don't try to change others. It's a complete waste of time. Even if they do change, they will only pretend to change to please you. But as soon as you turn your head, they will go back to the way that they are. Is this correct or not? It's true, right? So don't waste your time trying to change others. Don't waste your time trying to set a good example. You can cut ties from whatever is unhealthy that may be affecting them. that is affecting you rather in your relationship with them, but you cannot cut ties for them. The maximum you can do is for children that are less than puberty, you can place a beach ball around them for protection. You can do a floating hourglass over them uh, at any age, regardless of their age, to help them. Right. So, for example, recently our son took his 12 standard board exams, and so we placed a floating hourglass on him as well as all of his classmates so that they would all have success on their exams. That would be an example of how you can help, but you can't cut ties for them. You can't control others. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's take one from the audience, so if we can pass the mic back over here. Take that. Yeah.
How does we know if a cut has been successful or not?
How do we know if the
Cut,
ties? Yeah,
has
this is a
been-
common question. How do we know if the ties, after we've cut them, have been successful or not? If you've done the cutting ties routine properly, then it'll work, right? Now, the thing is, don't try to control the cutting ties part either, yaar. I mean, really, you know, I mean, most of us are so like, I have to control everything in my life. I have to walk this way. I have to do this. Don't do that. Let the high C take over and let the high C guide you in this. The high C for Sai devotees, it is Swami. He knows everything that we need. He knows exactly when we need it and how we need it. Don't try to control. Just allow the high C to take over.
Can parents cut ties with their grown-up children?
Yes, so can parents cut ties with their grown-up children? Absolutely, you should. I'm not going to say you must, because then I would be controlling you, but it would be very good for you to control ties from your children. You can do so after they have reached puberty. After they have reached puberty. So for girls, that would be after their first menstrual period. For boys, that would be when their voice starts to crack. That's when you can cut ties with them. That's a very healthy thing to do. Even your adolescent children can cut ties with you, and that's also, again, very healthy.
Uh, when the stress or fear is coming towards me, how to think of cutting ties or being relaxed that moment?
Right. So you're not going to whip out your figure eight and go like that, right? But actually, you can in a way. So when you have a situation that is bothering you, when you have a person that is bothering you, you can immediately place them in the figure eight. Immediately. The figure eight has several uses. One is for cutting ties. That's a 2 to 3 week process, 2 weeks for a person minimum, 3 weeks minimum for a symbol. But there are also immediate uses of the figure eight, which can help you to in your everyday relationships. So, for example, if there's a person who is irritating you, bothering you, whatever, if there's you are all going to drive home today, some taxi driver, God bless them, will come behind you and start honking his horn because you're driving half a kilometer per hour slower than he thinks you should, right? Oh, now just put the figure eight around you. You're in your golden circle, and the other person or whatever it is in their golden circle. You run the neon blue light, first going in a clockwise direction around them, and then in an anti-clockwise direction back around yourself. And that's called running the figure eight. This neon blue light has the power of separating other effects from each other. Although I'm holding it up like this, the figure eight is on the ground, wherever your feet would be if you were to stand up. When you're doing the instant figure eight in this purpose, just do it for a few moments, as long as it feels comfortable. You don't need to do it for 2 weeks and so forth. Just do it for that period, and you will see that the effect goes away. So, for example, in the conferences, we would play games with each other. I would try to be aggressive with one person, and then they would do the figure eight on me, and I would just stop. And then I would do the same thing with them. So they would try to be aggressive and all this thing, that thing. And then I would do the figure eight, and they would stop. When I was at work in my previous place, sometimes I would see two people start to fight, right? And then I would put them both in the figure eight, and then they would stop fighting. That's one of the few cases where you can use a figure eight on two other people. Your husband comes to you, your wife comes to you, wants to be mean, grumpy, whatever, just do the figure eight with them, and they will stop. Now, can you cut ties from your husband or wife? No, please don't do that. You're here to grow with each other. Everybody wants to cut ties from their spouse. It doesn't work. Okay. So what you do with your spouse is you imagine that you're both in the figure eight. You visualize the ties, and you raise the ties up to the high C, forming a triangle. So the high C is now taking care of your relationship, but you keep running the figure eight. In fact, Phyllis said that she was married to a lawyer who was very controlling, and she said the only way she survived her 50 years of marriage with her husband was by doing the figure eight every single day. So do the figure eight in that sense. You can do the figure eight for instant reasons if you're, let's say you have a thought that is recurring in your mind. Let's say you're worried about something. You do the star for fear, but that thought keeps coming back. Maybe it's a memory of something that happened. You cut ties from that trauma, but it still comes back to you. You do the figure eight and it'll go away. Maybe there's a song that's playing in your head or a conversation that you heard that continues to play itself out. Just do the figure eight, and in a few moments, it's all it takes, 30 seconds or less. It's gone. It's gone. Okay, let's take a question from the back, please. So, Shravanti.
I think I've recently observed something about myself, which growing up, I saw that as a child or even an adolescent or whatever. I've brought a lot of, I made everything that passed my way my battle. You know, like everything I felt should be, you know, there should be honesty, like, you know, there should be love, like everything was becoming a battle. And I would see somebody sad, I was like, this person should be happy, and I would make it my, you know, like my battle. And I realized I really got drained at one point in my life, and I was staring at this, like this thing, and it hit me that I cannot, like, you know, I cannot do everything. And that's when my connection with Swami, you know, like the connection deepened, you know, because it's not, because this, it's, I realized it's also my ego that was, you know, felt like I want it right, you know, I want it. And but even till today, I see that there are some things, when I see that this is something that I should work with, I give it energy and I'm able to do it. But I don't, when I see things not right, and I know that's not my battle, but it still drains my energy, you know, it brings a certain sadness, or, you know, and it preoccupies me. And sometimes when I just sit to connect with the high C, I'm not able to let it go, you know, I'm not able to let go. You know, I just feel like, why is this happening, you know, and I feel really afraid to open the newspaper. You know, I didn't even dare to look at what happened the Netherlands, this thing. And you know, it's making me sad, like to the extent that like even as I'm saying, I'm feeling tears come.
What
You
I
know,
do is I
so
open the
I-
funnies in the morning, the comic section, and that makes me
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
So is this something that other people are feeling? Yeah? It's like 10 hands are going up. Yeah? Yeah. You don't even want to listen to what is happening, right? There's this feeling of, oh God, the world is such a horrible place. You know what? When you're born on the earth, this earth is a very special place. You know, one Swami had said that to be born on this earth at this particular time is as much as winning the lottery, meaning the number of souls who want to be born now is so huge, and very, very few of them have made it through, as if you were winning the lottery, a 1 in a billion chance or whatever. That's the number of people who, or beings who would like to be incarnated now. Now, here's the thing. You have on this earth the chance to finish everything. Everything. You can finish everything. In other places, there is something like 352 levels you have to pass through before you finally merge in God and be done. On earth, it's not like that. You can finish up all at once. And that's a rare chance. It happens only on this planet, in this particular universe. The thing is, it won't happen unless you embrace everything. It won't happen unless you embrace everything. And so while you're feeling you're a loving person in general, that unconditional love has not come out yet. It's still not there. That unconditional love has to come. It has to be there for that crazy person in New Zealand or the crazy person in the Netherlands. It has to be there for all of our leaders, regardless of whether it's a lovely person like the New Zealand Prime Minister or a lovely person like the President of the United States. It has to be there for everyone, one and the same. You have to embrace everyone, everything. Now, if you're having trouble with this, then what do? Ask the high C for help. And so, one exercise that you can do is to learn to stay connected to the high C all the time. All the time. Just take that ribbon, keep it in your hand, and allow the love of the high C, that unconditional love, that last of the 5 energies, just allow it to flow to you and through you. Now, what the high C does with its unconditional love is none of your concern. Doesn't matter. You're not concerned. But your role is to send that love, allow it to flow to you and through you to everyone else. And what happens then is this thing about trying to push away the world will go away. And then what happens is then you start to embrace the world. Until you embrace the world, you will be born again and again and again. That makes sense? You have to embrace the world fully, the good and the bad, the lotus and the mud. It's the mud which makes the lotus so beautiful. You can't say, oh, I don't want this mud. The mud is there. You have to embrace that also. Otherwise, there's no lotus. So a simple technique, this is what I do, is I just keep myself connected to the high C all the time. I learned this from Phyllis because the first time I met Phyllis was in 94, I believe, 1994. And I came to her because I wanted some assistance with my meditation at that time. I was maybe 26 or something. And so she showed me this. And I saw how she was always connected to the high C. And it was so easy for her. She would just go inside, take guidance from the high C, and tell me exactly what the high C was saying to her. And we've seen this with those of us who had the chance to meet her physically. We saw that this would happen also. Can you do this also? Of course you can. All of us can do this, right? But that's the lesson. You have to embrace everything. That unconditional love that we do at the end of the maypole, that has to be all the time, not just for 3-4 minutes once a month. Yeah? Has to be done all the time. It's hard, and Phyllis would say it's okay if you forget, because we all forget. Even Phyllis would forget. We all forget. It's part of being in the physical body, but you just have to keep practicing. I think there's another question here. Can you pass the mic, please? Lots of questions. Okay. After this, we'll take some online questions also.
Yeah, this is regarding what you mentioned earlier about the figure 8. It came to my notice that you said that when 2 people were fighting, you put the figure 8 on. Is it possible?
Yeah,
So it's not controlling?
it is. But sometimes you need to step into, when 2 people are fighting, sometimes you go, hey, everybody calm down, right? Sometimes you can do it this way also. Just trying to calm down. You're not trying to make them agree. You're not trying to make them, hug and love and kiss each other. You're just trying to slow down the situation. Let's take some questions from online.
My mother left me when I was 7 years old, after which I struggled in my life to become what I am now. Still feeling that lack of love from others or close relatives. How to get rid of this feeling?
That's a very good question. So the question is, my mother left when the person asking the question was 7 years old, and there's a sense of rejection, I'm guessing, and that sense of love is still not there. So who will give you the love that we've been looking for, all of us? It's a high C. There's no other source. It's not your mother, it's not your father, it's not your husband or wife, it's not your children, it's not, well, it may be your dog, but still, I mean, but that real love, that love that you want all the time, that pure unconditional love, that we get only from the high C. And the lesson in cutting ties again is this, that everything that you need comes from the high C. Everything that you need in life comes from the high C, whether it's love. So what I would suggest that you do is to learn to love unconditionally and learn to bring in the love of the high C into your life. Our son had a classmate of his who lost his mother when I think he was around 10 or so, 10 or 11 years of age, and his mother passed away. And so he would cry at night. Now they were studying in Puttaparthi in Swami school, so he was also away from his father. And so then he learned to, then our son taught him to do the maypole, and he learned to take love from the high sea. Now there's another symbol that you can do when you're feeling this lack of love. What is it? Cosmic tree, and then cosmic. I think so. Yeah. So there's another symbol that you can do that is very helpful here. I won't go through it because of time, because there are more questions. But there's an exercise called the cosmic tree and cosmic parents. I think we'll end with it when we do the group cut. Those of you who are at home can use the workbook for this. But what you do in the cosmic tree is one of the three main symbols of cutting ties. You sit with your back against a tree, any type of tree that is comfortable for you, and you breathe in from the roots into your body and then out the divine energy of Mother Earth, representing the divine feminine. And then you breathe in from your trunks and leaves above, through your body into the ground below, the divine energy of the Father Sky, representing the divine masculine. You do this 3 times from the earth, 3 times from the sky, then 3 times both together. This represents balancing the masculine and feminine inside of you. Then you see on either side your cosmic parents. This is your divine mother and father, and they provide actually everything you need, including all the things that you would have liked to have received from your own mother or father, but that they could not provide for you. And this cosmic parents exercise is very, very powerful. Our son's classmate actually had a problem with bedwetting. Now, bedwetting represents fear of the fatherly influence. So our son taught this to his classmate, and all of these issues resolved away. That's how powerful the cutting the cosmic tree and cosmic parents are. So I would suggest this as well. If you're feeling that lack of love or that sense of loss because someone in your life moved away, then the cosmic parents is a very powerful. Next question.
Can we do cutting ties when we are pregnant, especially primary cuts and figure eight with example? A spouse, will it affect the child in the womb?
So can we do cutting ties when we are pregnant? So cutting ties is not like medicine where you can take only certain medicines during pregnancy and not others. Yes, you can do cutting ties during pregnancy. Please don't cut ties from your spouse. Is that part of the question also? You can give the ties between you and your spouse to the high sea, but you don't cut ties from them. You also don't cut ties from your children until after they have crossed puberty. Okay, next question.
How to overcome fear of health issues?
How to overcome fear of health issues. What would you suggest? Star for fear. Figure 8, and from whatever illness that person may have had, and the root cause of the fear for health, and then healing energy, right? The 5 energies from the maypole are relaxing, healing, purifying, cleansing, strengthening, and then unconditional love. So take that healing energy. See, but then I would tell you one more thing, going a bit deeper. How much do you love yourself? Right? How much self-love do you have? What does self-love look like in the physical body? Robust health, perfect health. When you love yourself so much, you will have this type of health, that vigorous health. That's what self-love looks like. So the answer to her question is not to take more vitamin tablets and more Ayurvedic powders or whatever. It is to love yourself. We'll do one more question from the online audience, and then we'll close with one last question from here.
I have tried cutting ties with both my parents, but they still affect me emotionally by being judgmental, constantly putting me down. What can I do so that their comments don't affect me?
That's a very good question. So you will find that even after you cut ties, you may find that even after you cut ties from someone, that they will still try to control you. In fact, in some cases, it gets worse because a subconscious connection between you and that person is now severed or freed rather, and when they feel that, suddenly the amount of control that person tries to put on you actually gets worse. Phyllis has given many examples of this. So what you can do is, even after you do the cut from that person, Phyllis says, you may want to continue running the figure 8 around them. Because what's happening is, in this case, my guess is that your parents are still trying to control you through their judgments, through their doubts, through their criticism, and they want you to be like how they want you to be, not like how the high C wants you to be, right? And so you still continue to run the figure 8. You're not doing a cut. You're just doing that, running the figure 8. You're in your golden circle. The golden circle is as wide as your arms and fingers extended on either side. It's on the ground. It doesn't matter how thick the golden circle is. Please don't ask that question. Okay, make it as thick as the inner C shows it to be, the high C shows you it to be. And then that person, your parent, is in, now not both parents, one parent at a time. It's not a love seat. It's one person in each golden circle is there, and you run the neon blue light around. Okay, and just do that, and you'll see that whatever criticism and judgment they have for you, it goes away. Go away. One last question from here. Yes, can you come this way, please? Let's push that button on. Pressing. Please go ahead.
So when I see my pet in distress, the health-wise, something help him.
Okay, so you have a pet whom you love very much.
Yeah.
And so your pet goes into distress from whatever reason, and you want to use the cutting size symbols in that way,
Yeah,
right?
something to help him.
Yes. So with animals, you don't have to use a floating hourglass. You can use a hourglass on the ground, and then you can bring good health. So the hourglass technique, or the hourglass symbol, is basically two triangles that are on top of each other, making an hourglass type. And what you do is you place, if it's somebody else, you place the hourglass floating above the highest point that they are. If it's a city, you would place the floating hourglass above the highest point of the city. If it's a country, you place a floating hourglass above the highest point of the country, the highest mountain or building. If it's a person, you place it above their head. If it's you, you place it on the ground like a golden circle. And so this is what the symbol looks like. And so there, that other person, or in this case, your pet, is in the golden circle, and you're asking the unconditional love of the high C. You're asking the high C, to give whatever the high C knows that person or animal needs, or that situation or place needs for that particular requirement. You don't know. We could never know, but the high C knows. And so you can place this symbol. You can also just do the maypole and send unconditional love. And we've seen many, many people who've had miraculous healings, animals and pets who've had miraculous healings from the group maypole. That's also. Okay, I think we have a few, one or two pressing questions from the website. Do you want to ask those?
Can we cut ties with a dead parent?
Can you cut ties with a dead parent? Absolutely. They don't have to be living.
Can sisters cut ties?
Yes, sisters can cut ties, brothers can cut ties. You can cut ties from your ex-husband or your ex-spouse. That's okay, but not if you're still married to them, not if they're still in your life and you're married.
What are the steps to do a primary cut?
What are the steps to do a primary cut? So you imagine the other person in their golden circle. You are in your golden circle. You run the figure 8 around them for 2 minutes each morning, in the neon blue light, 2 minutes in the evening. And whenever you think of it, it may be that they're still controlling you or bothering you, like in that situation we just mentioned. And then after 2 weeks, you do the cut. And we can help you through that. There are people who can help you, or you can use the workbook. There's a nice workbook. I don't think I have a copy of it here. But Phyllis had published a very easy to use workbook that will take you through those steps. Can you hand that to me, please? Usha is a teacher, so you can see that she's made all these notes on the side. But this is what the workbook looks like. And it's really good because it takes you through a lot of the steps that are required for the cutting ties symbols. Thank you.
Does cutting ties just involve the figure 8 for 2 to 3 weeks? or are there more steps involved for a successful cut?
Cutting the ties, see, cutting ties that bind is a series of symbols that allow us to free ourselves from subconscious influence, free ourselves from past karmas, so that we can do what? Be guided completely by the high sea. That's the essence of cutting ties. Your life is, the more we turn our lives over to the high sea, the easier it becomes. And there are many symbols in that. But when you cut ties from a person, it's just 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes in the evening, and then whenever you want during the day, as long as you're awake. And then you do the cutting ties technique. That procedure takes anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes or more, depending on the person.
Please advise on healthy parent-child relationship.
Healthy parent-child relationship. Oh, that's a whole workshop. Yeah. So think first, be, do, tell, and then work on your own self first before you try to work on your children. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's good.
Great. Okay. So that was a very productive session. And what we'll do is we'll keep revising some of these. I think this learning how to problem solve with cutting ties is very effective because we all have problems. I mean, as soon as you incarnate, you have problems. You're born and some doctor slaps you on the butt and you start crying. I mean, the problems begin then. So cutting ties will help with all of these things. And the more we use it, the easier our lives, the more beautiful our lives become. Okay. So thank you for those of you who are online. We will end the session here. And then for the people who are here in person, we'll then go into the group cut. Thank you, and Saidam.